Welcome back to the channel Gaming for XP, and we're going to play around with pipes today. Let's get building. So I went for a swim the other day and just ended up at Spectacle Island, so it's now unlocked. I've cleared it all of the nasties, and so I can use it for building now. So hopefully in the near future you'll be seeing a heap of builds here, and using it because there's so much land available. I'm using it to play around with some concepts and some builds. So found this mod called Pipes Galore, which is part of the Master Plan series from Etheron, and so we're going to play around with it today and to see what we can come up with. This is the first time I've used this mod, so part of the build process will be me struggling a little bit and trying to figure things out. So be prepared for me not to be perfect today, as this mod does throw up a few curveballs for me. And also, anytime you are using a new mod or new materials, you've got to just try and figure out how they all work together. And I did have a practice run, but even though I've had a practice run, it still takes me a while in this build to figure everything out. So it's always the case with new things. You got to just figure out how they snap together and how they work together. And hopefully, because I'm doing it during the build and figuring it out, I can point out some of the things that I came across that were a little bit difficult, and it might save you some time. But give it a try. So my idea here is to build on a little bit of a hill. So that piece that I just put in is the key part, really the starting point. Just be sure that you're not putting it too far into the ground. If you do, you won't be able to get up through it. So that's one of the things. It does sink into the ground, and I like the look of the dirt coming through. If you do that too much, it stops you from walking up and down in the pipe, which is kind of the idea of doing this. So I like these concrete pieces that kind of give it a little bit more of a look. Now those are there. I'm going to use those in a minute, and I've just got them out because they're from another mod I'm using, which is Workshop Rearranged. But rather than flick back and forward between the different mods, because they're quite a distance apart, I got a few of these foundation blocks out ahead of time, just to save us some time. So very important that you get that as close to the pipe as possible. Now you'll see in a little while this foundation does cause me a few dramas, the way I've put it down, and again, just part of learning how to work all the different materials. So in the end, I'll talk about it a little bit later, but in the end I'll end up spending a lot of time and actually leaving it where it originally sits there. So these are just ordinary. You can use any foundation pieces, it doesn't matter. I've decided to use these for the floor. You can actually just snap the floor straight on, and you'll see the floors in a minute. But I decided to use these to make it look as though it's supported. So we just get this last piece in here, and then we'll start to put the floors in. There we go, click. So the floors that you get are, there's a whole lot of different ones, and you can see there's all different colours of pipes, but here they are. And you see they're quite thick, and the problem it gives me is it actually creates a bit of a step up from the pipe into this area, and ends up, when you look at it, leaving a little bit of a gap. But at the end of the day, it's not stopping you get into the structure itself, so I'm not going to worry about it too much. Now, for some particular reason, it would not snap in here, which is really strange because it'll snap everywhere else. But what I end up having to do is, it's a build order issue, and I end up having to take a few things out to get this in, put them all back in again. Again, part of the learning when you're using new stuff, it's somewhat how they all work. See, so I'll persist for a while and then say, maybe it's that. And there you go, it snaps straight in as soon as you pull that piece out. And just in case, these are great they snap nicely. Now be very careful when you're doing this that you get the floors to snap to each other. And you see there's a bit of a gap there, and we'll see so I'll make sure they're snapping properly to each other, and that actually was offset a little bit too, so just something for you to watch at. Then there's this kind of semicircle piece which I like, and I can see there's going to be some good uses for that in other builds. Now what I kind of found with this is don't get too ambitious with what you're trying to do, because for some reason the walls, he hasn't given you all the wall pieces to be able to, well he probably has, but it takes me a while because I try to improvise and do something a bit different. It takes me a while to figure out what walls to use where. So you can see that there's these curved walls which are perfect for that bit there. So we got to figure out a half wall here would have been perfect, but anyway, there is a little bit of a limit in what you have available to you, so you just got to figure out. See, there's a gap there too, so you just got to figure out how to get around some of these things. And what initially I end up doing is I have to move this whole pipe across one to get this to work. So again, as I said in the intro very early on, this is a bit of a discovery process, and hopefully the fact that I've done it will save you some time. So you might just got a glimpse of the gap there as I came up, or the little lip. In the end I don't end up doing anything with it, I decide just to leave it as is. So now we're moving the pipe all the way back. So you can see there, that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to address this problem, but everything I do doesn't really work. So I just end up leaving that and moving on. So it's actually by default that I end up coming up with the look that happens now, but I think it actually works very nicely. Where you've got a little bit of concrete poking out on the outside, and it actually looks as though it's supporting the round part of the building. And my idea for this build is to have something that's like a mini railroad facility, and it actually turns out pretty much as I envisaged. Just put this last piece in here. These are pretty good, these blocks are pretty good, they snap in quite nicely, and you can see it just gives that little bit of a lip, which I kind of actually like. And I think for an industrial building like this, it's perfect. So just a quick adjustment on here just to make sure that it's all looking good. I'll probably have to put a full piece in there, so I'll need to go and find that because I've run out. Of course I deleted the piece I actually need. So I'll have to go and get another one, but that's alright, it's fine. Not a problem. Only take a couple of seconds, so we'll probably need the big one. Not the other one, not that one. Oh, we're going to put that one in as well. And again, I'm just looking at this and saying, okay, build order again. I did snap in there before, now it's not going to, so the single piece will, that longer piece won't, so I just need to move some pieces out of the way, put it in, put them all back. Only takes a couple of seconds. There we go. And the fact that there's pieces missing in there doesn't matter, you're never going to see it. There we go, click. Snapping's pretty good on this. Like I said, just that thing with the floor, just keep an eye on that, because you think they're snapped in and they're not properly. So okay, so that's looking off, that almost looks like a water tank kind of thing. Now I do have an issue here with this round piece, which is not, you see there's a bit of a height difference, so I've got to figure that out now. And again, not being familiar with what's available, it takes me just a fraction of time to do that, but we actually figure it out. So we'll put the roof on first, and the roofs are basically just the floors. So I just snap them all on there. And you can see that wall there, is there something up with that wall because there's a gap there. There we go, that went in. I saw you go in. So we'll just have to move that wall forward a little bit. There we go, click. And again, just be aware that that's going to happen. There we go. All good, all sealed apart from that door there. So, no, it's not going to fit because it's too short. No, you can't do that either. There is actually a piece there that you can use. There it is. So get rid of that bit. Put that other, no, you've gone to the wrong piece again. Come on. And you're all shouting at me. You can see it. You can see the part that I'm looking for. I'm going to be getting. Yeah, go one to your left. Come on, have a look. Yep. There we go. Yeah. Takes a bit of time, but I get there in the end. There we go. So we're all nice and tight, nicely tightly sealed now. And I could just leave it there, but I'm actually going to make a second part of this, I think. And having done this in a practice session, I'll have to make it off the camera. So for some reason, I don't know why, these grates are a bit weird. They have a bit of a weird snapping thing, and I actually have to end up going into the pipe to get this to snap. But because I think at this point it's a collision problem, but it's not. It's just that they tend to snap a little bit different for some particular reason. So you'll see in a second, I'll run inside the pipe and snap it from inside. So that's not. That did click, but it's not snapping properly. And I also think it's maybe because I think also it's possibly because I've sunk that into the sand a little bit. But you will get it in. You will get it in. It will actually click in there. So watch this. I just come up, back up a little bit, and there we go. Snap. And no, I don't want to get rid of it given how long it's taken me to get that right. So I've added another one of these concrete things on the edge there. I think it just adds to the look of the thing. And the fact that it looks like a sewage or a water treatment drainage area. So, okay, so I'm going to try and figure out where to put the next part of this. And what influences this is the fact that these, when I put the pipes in, the ground up here is too low. So I can't actually physically use pipes up here. So I have to go with plan B in a second, but you'll see I'll put these two on and then suddenly realise it's too low. Now I don't want to bend in the pipe. You see, right, there's no way you're getting in there. Oops. Okay, so this sometimes happens when you're building, depending on where you're building about. So why don't we put, instead of that one, we'll build in here. Put that one over there. And then we'll start on the build on the other side. And again I go with the pipes, but I end up ditching these because they're really they don't work. They just don't work for me, and I don't actually need them in the end anyway, so we might just go with one pipe and that's it. Otherwise I'm going to come across the same issues. But as you can see, there's a whole lot of really cool options there. Yeah, see, I'm getting stuck again, so that's not going to work either. So we'll leave this one pipe in and then we'll work around. And of course, because gaming for XP is building in the Commonwealth, it started to rain again. So I'm going to make an individual little building here. And so I've sped it up a little bit because it's just going to rinse and repeat. But I tried this in a practice session and I found that the only way I can do it is I have to build it independently and then pillar glitch it in. So it does present some issues, not going to lie. And you'll see fairly shortly what those are. So we just pillar glitch this in across this entranceway here now, and the pillar is in completely the wrong place, so I'm going to have to shift that. I'll just push it up here for a sec. Party boat's still there. Good. Have a drink there after we finish. So I just had to grab it on the other side so I can see what I'm doing. So we're going to overlay it across on the top of the pipe here. And again, it's pretty, the glitching's pretty good. But it does leave a gap, and one that I spend a lot of time trying to figure out how to patch up. So not too bad, but we have that gap there. So we need to figure out how to fix that. So we can use one of those, where is it? That piece there, and then it leaves us with a small gap. So about 5-6 minutes mucking around with that and trying all different pieces, I actually end up going to something completely different in vanilla extensions in the metal tab, and this little beauty here is really the only thing that works. Unfortunately, it's not perfect, but I'm not too. It's fine. It's fine. It actually fits the shape here perfectly, and yeah. It's the only kind of gap in the whole installation, so yeah, sometimes you just got to make compromises, I guess. And so here's mine. But of course, now that we've done that, it does present us with just a slight other problem up the top there. We're going to try and figure out how to plug that gap now. So it's not always one thing, that it can be a series of things. Now, when I was playing around with this, I tried a number of walls, and they all were poking through different parts of the structure, so none of them really worked. And that's what you didn't see in the 5 or 6 minutes that I'd spent mucking around with this. So I'm going to go with these wall boards and see if they'll work. And in the end, that's what I end up doing. But they're not perfect. They stick out a little bit, but you know, in the overall scheme of things, you actually don't notice them. So that's all right. And it probably just a half board there. Otherwise, see, that's sticking through too. So nothing's perfect. That works. So we'll go with one of those, and we'll leave it at that. So just these little miniature boards. That's fine. That's close enough for me. I know it's there, but really you don't see it. So all good. So that's pretty much the main structure. No, we don't want to get rid of that. It's taking us a long time to get it in. That's the main structure pretty much done, guys. And it's just a case of adding all the little bits of pieces to make it look as though it's abandoned, and you know, it fits into the environment. So that's what we're going to do next. So I found these rocks in Decoration and Furniture Pack. I think you can actually get them in the Nuka World DLC from Dry Rock Gulch or something. There's also very similar rocks that you can get. I like these because they very much fit with the overall look here. Now, one thing you got to just be a little bit careful for is when you put them in, that they're not glitching into the building, because you'll get rocks, and you'll see in a second. I'll go inside, and there are a couple of rocks that are actually glitching through into the building, but the way they are glitching through, I wasn't overly concerned about how they look. It actually adds to the overall build look. So just put this into place like that, and it will pop out like that, and I have to put it back in, but that's okay. And these are good. I like them. I like the look of them, and for this build, when you stand back, once I get them all in, they actually fit perfectly in here. So I think what I need to probably put one more in here. Yeah, see, I'm just checking. See, the rocks poke through, but I'm not actually too worried about that. That looks alright to me. Maybe just put one more in between and then be done with it. These are a little bit finicky, and I'd suggest if you're not using something like Place Anywhere, use the pillar or something to get them in place. Again, this is the first time I've used them, so I'm also learning how they all interact with each other, but they do glitch into each other quite nicely, so you can actually build up quite a nice little rock wall. And there you go, looks like it's always been there. So what's the next things we need to do? I think we just need to put something in here to just make it look a little bit more abandoned in it. And there's an idea I've had for a kind of fence for a while that I haven't actually physically used, so I'm going to try it here and see. I think it fits into this environment quite nicely, and it's using these barricades. So first of all, I'm just going to place a few down, so just at random spots, just to make it look as though they, because it all fits in with this environment really well. But then I'm going to put a couple down here. And the beauty of these barricades is they actually snap together. So we'll just angle them in a little bit. And this will form part of the, see, they'll snap like that. This will form part of the fence that surrounds this water pipe in the facility. And I think, I'm looking at those, but so I'm going to go to these chain link fences, and I'm going to actually recess this into, and they're perfect size too, this fence is perfect length to sit in there. So I'll put one on the other side. Now I do have to spend a bit of time lining this up, but I'll get it perfect first time. But that look I like a lot, and it fits. That looks just right for this build. So I'll go ahead and snap another one in here, maybe. Yeah, it wants to. There you go. And then realise I haven't put a concrete block in there, but I'm going to actually look as though this has been. I'm going to put this and make it look as though it's been kicked out, because for some reason it doesn't want to snap. So actually end up angling this out in the end. You'll see this. The last one here, so it's not going to snap there. So I have an idea what I can do with that one. So first of all, we'll get this one back where it was, and I take the there we go, come on, there we go, nice. And then we'll snap that one on there like that. I saw you snap, come on. Is it going to make me do that other trick that I've got to do with the... No, there you go. Fits in nicely. Now, there is a gap there, but I'm going to put another one in there as though it's been broken off. You'll see in a sec. Just angled like that. All good. Now, one of the things you got to make sure you do if you're going to build this fence is make sure that your chain link fence is straight onto it. Otherwise, see, that's now an angle, and I'm going to realise that in a minute. See, it's off. And when you're working with the chain link fences, that's true all the time. Make sure it's straight. So it doesn't take much to fix it. Just important that you get the first piece right. So line it up first, and then I'll just check that that's in the right spot when I come around. Grab this pole. Yeah, no, it's good. All good. Yeah, pull that down a little bit too far, so just push it up a bit. There we go. All good. And then the next one will snap. Just snap nicely onto there. So looking good so far. Just a few other little touches. I'm not going to show you all the decoration, you'll see it in the final tour, but I thought I'd show a couple of touches just to give you a little taste, and also what you could possibly do. So the tires definitely fit in here. Drop some tires in, and I think you'll probably guess what else will fit in here, but it takes me a while just to get these particular tires as close as I like, but we'll just persuade them in. Here we go. There we go. Just step back and see what else it needs. Yep. And it definitely could benefit, I think, from having some toxic barrels in there. And again, I want to, if you came across this when you were wandering around on Spectacle Island, I really want you to be kind of thinking that, no, I really don't want to go in there, it's too dangerous, there's nothing in there, and you know, so hence I put these radioactive barrels everywhere. And you'll see in the final build they are absolutely everywhere. So that definitely fits. And it's looking pretty smick. So we're getting pretty close to the end now, guys. Here's the final build. You can see I've added a few things. There's some smaller pipes in the app that you can, in the mod, sorry, that you can use. There's Dogmeat loving it. So I'll just have a quick run around. Put some these barbed wire fences in that come with vanilla extensions. There's a bit of a water tank in there, and you can see that the windmill is powering things. But again, it's not a pleasant looking place from the outside. And since I've done this final tour, I've actually added more stuff. So I've enjoyed with this. So looks very abandoned, but let's go and have a sneak peek inside and see what it looks like. So this door's pretty good, cool. And here we go. And I've tried to make this as much like the railroad HQ as possible at the Old North Church, where I've divided it up into little areas. So you get a little medical area there, then the workshop. Just have a good look around. Use the shelf as a bit of a divider into the chemical area, which is the next part, and put a really basic kind of kitchen in. But I think it all works, and it all works if you think of the railroad, and if you know your particular HQ building, it all kind of works in there. Lots of little details in here. Creative Clutter is a great little mod that has these workbenches that has all that clutter pre-made on it, which is fantastic. It's a little desk to sit at. As you can see, there's a lot going on in here in such a small space. There's a lot of decoration, and in this second part I've made a little kind of sleeping area, but obviously it's nothing posh, it's very basic. Even the shower with the bucket here glitched a little bit through the roof, but I don't mind that too much. So that's it, guys. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you enjoyed the build, and hope you enjoyed the tour. Thanks for watching the channel and supporting me. If you like this, leave a like down below. If you haven't subscribed yet, plenty of stuff coming up. Subscribe to the channel, and we'll catch you next time. See ya.